guys. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Okay, so it is the second Sunday of 2021. So this is my first video of the year. So I am now, from here on out, I'm going to do some consistent videos. I'm going to upload, let's say, every Tuesday. So every Tuesday, you'll come back here for something new. Now, today's video, so today's video is, I'm going to do it in two parts, I'm going to tell you some tips about some of the things I look for when I'm looking for an Airbnb. I know it's COVID time right now, and a lot of people are not thinking about traveling, but ever since I've been here in Europe, that's all I use when I travel. I use Airbnb. The Airbnb, it is the best. Now, if you don't know what an Airbnb is a service where people rent out their homes for people traveling, whether you're traveling for work or leisure travel. People rent out their homes. Now, it's up to you if you want to share the home with the person while they're there, or you want to have the whole house to yourself. Personally, I don't mind sharing the house. I actually feel a little bit safer when the person is in the house. Now, I've never used Airbnb back in the States. I've only used it here in Europe. And interestingly enough, I have this weird sense of safety here in Europe. I don't know, it's not like things don't happen here, I'm sure they do, but I just feel very safe around here. I really do. I've never had a second thought about, oh my God, what might happen to me staying in someone else's house. I've never had that feeling. So I absolutely love Airbnbs. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a two-part video. The first part of it, I'm going to tell you all some of the things that I look for when I'm choosing an Airbnb. There are about like 4 or 5 things. The second part of the video, I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is something crazy that happened when we were going to Amsterdam. When hubby and I were going to Amsterdam, some crazy thing happened, you guys. Crazy. Oh my God. Whew. All right, now let's get to it. All right, so my very first Airbnb experience, when I drove to Paris all by myself. I had only been here a few months, I had never really driven in Europe, so that was my first time driving to a brand new place going to Paris. Now, of course, I didn't stay like in Paris, like proper. I stayed out in the suburb area, So, some of the things that I looked for, of that first experience, I didn't know too much. I was just looking for a place to lay my head for those couple of days I was there. But being a little more experienced now in Airbnb, I'm a lot more experienced. So I knew what to look for. Now, when I go on the app, whether on the app or the website itself, the very first thing, of course, I put the location in. Location. So let's say we went to Brussels. When we went to Brussels, we stayed in Dilbeek. Dilbeek is it's a suburb out in Brussels. So, of course, we were driving, so that also plays a role. So I'm gonna get to that point in a minute. So you put in the location. The other thing that I do, which I think is the number one thing for me, at least, number one thing for me is the price. It's the price. Now, I am frugal, cheap. I am very, very cheap. And traveling around Europe, you will learn to be cheap. And things are not all that expensive here. I mean, of course, depends on your taste and depends on where you're going. So I usually put $30. Now, my currency is set in Airbnb in dollars. You can put it in euros if you want to, Of course, if you're here in Europe, if you're in the States, you can put dollars. But when I was setting it up, I put it to dollars. So I put it for $30. Okay, $30. That's 30 or below per night. So everything that comes up is $30 per night or less. I've seen some per night, $19, $20, and those are some really nice rooms. Okay, and of course, what that brings me, like the results that it brings me, there are mostly people sharing their house, like giving you a room in their house, and you get to share the bathroom, the kitchen, and whatnot. Okay, so that's the first thing I put is the price. Okay, it has a little slider thingy that you can put in, that going this way, you know, is below 30. Okay, next thing I look for is Wi-Fi. Okay, I need that Wi-Fi to work. Okay, so next thing I do is Wi-Fi. A lot of them they do offer Wi-Fi, but I will just make sure that I check the Wi-Fi box to make sure that every result that I am getting, they do offer Wi-Fi. Okay, that's number 2. All right, number 3. Okay, when we're driving, right, I have to make sure there's parking. Okay, now if you've been to Europe, well, at least on this side of Europe, right, and the surrounding countries, there are a lot of parking garages, and thank goodness they are very cheap. Very cheap. I'm telling you, I once parked at the mall, I think for like 2 hours, and that cost maybe like 3 or 4 euros. It is not that bad. But when we're traveling somewhere, I don't want to park in a parking garage, right? So I want to make sure that the person is offering free parking. So I select free parking on premises. Okay, and most times the houses, they either have 2 parking spaces that they'll give you one, and they themselves, they have one, or they offer you their parking space and they park somewhere else. So I always make sure that I choose parking. Now, obviously that's for places around this area where we're driving to. When I was going to Rome, I was flying, so I didn't need parking. So that was not an issue for me. So I didn't check that part. But if you are driving, make sure you check free parking on premises. Okay. Now, the next thing that I look for is their kitchen. Okay, or if they're allowing me to share the kitchen. And the reason for that is I always carry food with me. And it's not like I don't eat out when I travel. When we travel, we do eat out every now and then, but I like to carry my own food, okay, or maybe some snacks, right? So usually they would, like, if you're renting a room, they, for the most part, a lot of them will allow you to use their kitchen, okay, and most of them also will actually offer you breakfast. I remember when we went to, I think it was Strasbourg. Strasbourg is in France. It's about an hour and a half from here. This lady, she laid out her table. Oh my gosh. We came downstairs the next morning and it was like 3 different types of bread, butter, fruits. I mean, and we didn't even ask for it. It was amazing. And of course, I had made a whole bowl of fried eggs and fruit. So I just added what I brought to the table and we ate. It was amazing. So I think we were there for 2 nights, 2 or 3. And so all those mornings, she had breakfast for us. So sometimes they will offer it. Sometimes, you do have to check the check mark that say, hey, are you offering free breakfast? Or if you don't see it on the notes part of the page, you can always ask and they'll tell you yes or no if they offer it or not. But that's something I always check, that they're offering. Of course, again, when I was going to Rome, I wasn't carrying food I was going to eat there. I had already budgeted, food for each day in my money that I took with me. So I didn't need to cook. I mean, I did take a few snacks. I had some plantain chips that I had fried. So yeah, that was it. And the food wasn't wasn't all that expensive. It wasn't. I had a whole plate of food. It was like, I think they were like 19 euros or 20 euros. It was a lot of food, a lot. So I didn't mind paying for it. But anyway, so yeah, so I always make sure that they're sharing their kitchen. Now, I think that's it. Oh, the last thing I look for is if they're super host. A super host really is someone that they've either had many experiences with hosting, or that they have a high rating. So at least they have experience and they have good ratings. So, you know, I always look to make sure that they're super hosts. I've only stayed with super hosts so far, and so far it's been pretty good. So when I click on the page to look, okay, and all these places I go, of course they speak different languages, but most of them do speak English. The last time I went to Paris, I think that was like October last year. The lady, she didn't speak any English at all. And that was fine with me because I do understand French. Do I speak it? A little bit, just a little bit. Hobby speaks fluent French. I don't, but I understand a great deal. So I actually did decide to practice my French with this lady. So we got to communicate a little bit. So yeah, she didn't speak any English, but when I arrived, she came down and she got in my car and she helped me find parking. We parked, she helped me with my suitcase. She was really nice. And she left her house for me. She said she's going away on the weekend with her friends. I'm like, ooh, so I had the whole house to myself, which is, you know, it was fine. She didn't have a microwave though, which is another thing. If you're gonna have your own food, or if you know when you go out to eat, you're gonna bring back leftovers, maybe you find out if they have a microwave. That was one mistake I did. I didn't find out if she had a microwave or not. She didn't. She didn't. But that was okay. That was fine. So I had to revert to the old ways of being back in Cameroon, where we heated food by putting it back in the pot and, you know, heating it up that way. That's fine. At least I have experience with that, so that didn't bother me too much. That was fine. So yeah, so when I get on the page, you know, I look at the language. I always read what they write. You know, they might give you a few tips here and there. I read what they write. I look at the distance between where the house is to places where I'm going to do my sightseeing. Okay, my very first Airbnb experience, I don't know, like I always look for that distance, but for some reason that trip was so last minute. But I think when I looked at the distance, it didn't register in my head. I don't know, it just, I missed it. That home was an hour away from Paris. It was an hour away from Versailles by train. Actually, even by car as well. By car, it was like an hour, 20 minutes. So that was a lot. It was a lot. So I had to take the train from the house into downtown Paris and into Versailles. Now, the last time I went to Paris, I was a little bit more experienced then. Okay, I was a little more experienced, so I drove into Paris, parked in the parking garage, which was about a 7-minute car ride into like to the Arc area, to the Eiffel Tower area. So for that 7-minute ride, I took an Uber. Okay, which the first time I went to Paris, the lady told me there are no Ubers, there are no buses, whatever, which was not true. I don't know if she probably just didn't know, but there is an Uber. So Paris, they have two. One of them is Captain, Kapten. The other one, I forgot its name. So it's almost like back in the States where they have Uber and Lyft. In Paris, they have two as well. So this last time that I went, I had those apps in my phone. So I drove into Paris, parked at Parking Indigo. That parking garage it's everywhere around here in Europe, and they're pretty cheap, and their garages are very clean, very, very clean. So I parked there and took an Uber into into the Eiffel Tower area. So again, those are things that I learned from, that was my third time going to Paris. So at least now I knew what to do, right? And I knew what to do. So yeah, so Airbnbs they're pretty great. The first lady that I use, Maria, she really helped me with the bus routes. So she printed them out for me, and which, if you haven't read my blog about my first Paris experience, you should read it, because on my way back to her house, because I went there in April, so it gets dark around like 10 p.m. around here in April. I was standing there waiting for it to get dark so I could see the Eiffel Tower at night. It was my dream, okay? It had always been my dream to see the lights going up at night. It got dark at like 9:45, and the train was leaving around like 9:52 or something like that. Oh my gosh. So this lady, she kept texting me and say, hey, try to get on the train to arrive at Gardeno. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. That's the North train station. Gardeno is like Union Station. It's huge. It has all the routes going everywhere. She kept texting me and said, hey, get on the train by this time to get to Gardeno by this time, because the last train leaves at this time to get to my house. I stood there waiting for the lights to go up on the Eiffel Tower. I mean, I did get it, and I got pictures and everything, got a video. I was really excited. But then I got on the train on time. I got to the Gardeno on time. My stupid behind stood in line trying to ask the lady at the counter to make sure I was on the right train, or to make sure, hey, I'm going to the right direction. And I stood there, and my train left. My train left me. Oh my gosh. It left. So I stood there at the train station, hooked. And this guy kept following me around. He knew I was stranded. He kept following me around. So I had to talk to one of the police guys and tell him, hey, this guy's following me around. I'm uncomfortable. So I hung out with the police guys for like an hour or two. All hotels were booked. I couldn't get anywhere. The taxi was gonna cost me like $100 and something. So I had to bite the bullet. And I asked one of the taxi drivers in French, gave him my address, and he drove me home. It was an hour and 20 ride. So that it cost me like $140, I think. I was mad as hell. I was mad at myself. But hey, if you are gonna travel, check out the distance. Make sure you check out the distance, okay? All right, so that's it. I think I don't have any other tips for Airbnb. Yeah, so another thing that you can look for is try to look at the response time that the host responds to you. Okay, because I've had a couple of them, they respond like that, while others, the guy whose room I rented in Rome, he wasn't responsive at all. Like, his response was horrible. And me going to a brand new country, I don't speak Italian. I mean, I understand like one or two words because I had studied it a little bit, but I didn't know much. And he wasn't very responsive, and I wasn't very happy about that. But his house was like a hotel. I think it is a hotel, because I had my own room, my own bathroom, and there were other rooms around the area, around the hallway. I had my own key, so I had my own privacy. It was great. It was absolutely great. But his response time wasn't very good. So find the response time and read the reviews. Read the reviews. Okay. So yeah, those are the things that I do when I'm booking an Airbnb. I haven't stayed in Airbnb in the States yet, so I hope I have a good experience in the States as well. Okay, now on part 2 of this video, I'm gonna tell you a story that happened in Amsterdam. Okay, now stay tuned.